Hi, this is Ryan Williams for Kaplan, and we're going to talk about personal jurisdiction for the bar exam. All right, we want to start with traditional basis, though that's not going to be the right answer on the essay, but it could be on the MBE, so we need to know it. All right, first traditional basis is consent. Did the defendant consent to personal jurisdiction in the forum state? Did they challenge PJ without a special appearance? Did they file some other 12B motion first? Did they answer the complaint first? They waived the right to challenge PJ, or you can consent through contract to personal jurisdiction in the forum state. Second way, traditional basis, domicile. Does the defendant live in the forum state? Or if it's a corporation, is it their PPB and state of incorporation? They're subject to PJ there. Third, in the bar's favorite, tag jurisdiction. If the defendant is served with process in the forum state, they're subject to personal jurisdiction there. You have the famous case of the husband and wife. They live in New York, they get divorced. The wife takes the kids and goes to California, and she wants California to govern their divorce. She sues the husband. The husband says, California doesn't have personal jurisdiction over me. I've never been there. She says, that's fine. And then 2 weeks later, she calls the husband, come quick, our daughter's sick. So he gets on a plane. My daughter's sick, I've got to go. He shows up. She goes, yeah, she's not sick, but you've been served. Sorry, not sorry. And that's not going to work. You can't use deceit to lure someone into the forum state for the purposes of tag jurisdiction. All right, but on the personal jurisdiction essay, tag jurisdiction is not going to be the right answer because they're going to want you to write about minimum contacts. So how do we do that? Personal jurisdiction essay on the bar exam. First, start with the state's long-arm statute. If they have one, great. Talk about it and talk about how it comports with the constitutional standard. If you don't see one in the problem, panic, you're done. No, don't panic. Just mention the state should have a long-arm statute, and whatever it is, it should comport to the constitutional standard. Okay, what is the constitutional standard? You need to know that and give that to the bar exam. It's the International Shoe Standard, and that's the defendant must have such minimum contacts with the forum state such that jurisdiction over him would not offend traditional notions of fair play and substantial justice. You need to memorize that and type that on the bar exam. Now that we have that out of the way, you go into minimum contacts. 2 headings under minimum contacts: purposeful availment and foreseeability. Purposeful availment, did the defendant receive any benefits and protections of the forum state through their contacts? If you drove into the forum state, the local police are there to protect you, you're benefiting from the police and the AAA of that state. That's purposeful availment. Look for corporations sending letters into the forum state too. That's on purpose, that's purposeful availment. Use the facts here. And the second heading was foreseeability. The foreseeability we're talking about is, did the defendant, through their actions, should they reasonably anticipate being hailed into court in the forum state? Those are the buzzwords you want to type. And then use the facts. I'm sure they did something that makes them think they should reasonably anticipate being hailed in the forum state, or maybe not. But here's where you put it. Next heading, next section for minimum contacts, arises out of. Did the lawsuit arise out of the defendant's contacts with the forum state? Right? And so look for contacts that are related to the lawsuit. And the bar likes to give unrelated contacts, but mention those too and mention how they're unrelated and not going to count. For example, if the defendant spends every summer in the forum state, right? He visits his grandmother every summer. That's nice, but it doesn't have to do with the fight he had with the plaintiff 2 years ago, right? And so even if it's systematic and continuous contacts, if they're unrelated, they're not going to count for the specific jurisdiction what we're talking about, right? Occasionally you have to talk about general jurisdiction. That's going to be a corporation only, and that's when you see a lot of unrelated contacts that are systematic and continuous, and you want to argue, yeah, but it's still probably not enough for the defendant to feel at home in the forum state to get general jurisdiction, because that's so hard to get. All right, so we're staying back with our outline. Arises out of. The final thing we want to talk about after that is the traditional notions, and those are the fairness factors. First one, burden on the defendant. What's the burden on the defendant to litigate in the forum state? It's probably going to be low unless the defendant is a foreign corporation. Then it's going to be high. All right. Then that votes against holding personal jurisdiction over them. Second factor, what's the plaintiff's interest in having the lawsuit in the forum state? Probably high. The plaintiff chose the forum state for a reason. Third fairness factor, what's the state's interest in having the lawsuit in the forum state? That's going to be high if the plaintiff is a citizen of the forum state. If it's like the Keaton case, though, it won't be that high. And so you want to look, see if the plaintiff is a citizen of the forum state. And finally, last fairness factor, talk about generally where the evidence and witnesses are. Would it be convenient to have the lawsuit in the forum state? You can use the facts here again. Where are the evidence and witnesses? Are they in the forum state? Okay, yes. It's fair then to have the lawsuit here. After you've done that, the only thing left is the conclusion. Make sure you have a conclusion. Yes, personal jurisdiction, or no, no personal jurisdiction. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. Just make sure it's consistent with what you just spent the time talking about. And that is how you answer a personal jurisdiction essay for the bar exam.